we think this is quite a special conference that is really focused on the future of the postal ecosystem. And before we do much more, I just want to say thank you to sponsors who really help us put this together. At the highest level, we call our pillars, who work with us all year round: Bell and Howell and Cargo Glide, Esri, and of course Ursa Major Associates are our key sponsors. At the pillar level, we have gold sponsors each year who have been very supportive in the way of Accenture, FedEx, and UPS. And bronze sponsors, we have some new ones this year: Hanha and IPC. Unfortunately, Holger Winkelbauer missed his flight. That's not a good sign for a postal guy, I don't think. I don't know. But David Spottiswoode is here for IPC and Ring, and you'll be hearing from Jamie Simonoff tomorrow, who is with Ring, of course, and Jeff Peoples. If you're in the postal industry, at least in the U.S., and don't know Jeff, you should, you will, from Windowbook. So thank you, bronze sponsors. Pardon me. Thank you, UPS. Keith, are you here? Keith Kellison was with us last night and sponsored our opening welcome reception, which I hope you all enjoyed. A lot of you did. Thank you for being with us. And then we're particularly appreciative of all the support we get from associations. And I won't name each of these because there's a lot of alphabet there. But you'll be hearing from a number of the key association partners in one of their sessions that Kathy Siviter will moderate tomorrow, I think, yes. And then we're growing in terms of our academic interest, and I'm really proud that the Schar School at GMU, particularly represented by Dave Williams, who most of us know as the former IG, and now a professor there, has come on board and brought the Schar School on as a sponsor of what we do. As well, we have Carnegie Mellon going to be with us. We have, is Andrew here this morning? Andrew Butcher from Carnegie Mellon and some students are going to be from there on the graduate school. They're doing work in the postal area, and they're supporting us as well. And then, of course, we have L2 Gartner. Cooper Smith will be with us later on, and we're happy to welcome back Ian Kerr from Postal Hub Podcast, who you'll hear from. I won't recognize him now because you're going to hear a lot from him. And thank you also to these regulators who are supportive, and government institutions. GAO, of course, the Postal Service itself, Inspector General, and the PRC. All have been very, very big supporters of what we've been doing the last several years. And we're going to do, as you probably know, I'm not going to run through the whole agenda, we're going to do this afternoon something new for us. And we've polished it up from what we did at Post Expo in September in Geneva. Bernard Bukovka and I have been working on this concept we call Postal Pitch, and the Schar School is helping us with this in terms of the sponsorship, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be our version of a Shark Tank, and we're going to have a fast-moving pitch session up here this afternoon, and then there's going to be an award to the finalists. We have a very distinguished panel of judges, and you can see that in your program, and you'll meet them this afternoon. So furthermore, and most important, our small staff, but powerful. John Sasso, if you see him walking around, and Kathy Siviter, I think everybody knows. My dear, beautiful wife, Linda. Mike Comstock is out there somewhere, who's been my partner at Ursa Major Associates going back for, I don't know, how many years now? 10, 20, Mike? And 18, really, okay. And Iris Collis, who is not here yet, but she joined our team this past year and has been in touch with all the speakers. Jeff Gruber and his team in the back there, and Ann Stewart represents us on the hotel side. So thank you all. And so beyond the thanks, and those are the most important things, thank you all for being here. There are a little housekeeping in terms of Wi-Fi. This is always an issue with hotels, it seems like. I don't want to get off criticizing Ritz because they're good to us, but if you don't need Wi-Fi, please don't use it because there's numbers that we have in terms of how many connections you get. But there is Wi-Fi, and the Wi-Fi code is URSA, URSA. table displays. Outside, we don't have formal exhibits, but we know we have a lot of materials provided by sponsors as well as some of the pitch folks, so spend some time and look what they have. Very unique table display in the way of a table that pulls almost out of the van outside, cargo glide. Those of you who were here last year remember Brad Harrell, and he brought his prototype cargo glide, wall glide van. It's outfitted for USPS. It's going to go there for a demo tomorrow. It's sitting outside. During your break, go out and take a look at it. And this is a new ProMaster that's been specially outfitted to be able to pull the shelving out or motorized to get at parcels so the drivers don't have to get in and out of the van. Very brilliant idea. Could have had a V8, right? I mean, it's like obvious, but leave it to Brad Harrell to make it real. And Brad is here somewhere. Where are you, Brad? There he is, right there. If anybody wants a personal show. And Brad, again, has been a sponsor, and this has been a heck of a partnership this past year to be able to get you this far, right, Brad? So, questions and comments. I put a couple of those cards on the table. Each one, there's about 3. It has a 2020 there. Jeff Peoples is holding it up. Please make a notation on this. If you ever have a question or something, you think about it, it's not the right term to bring it up. And then at some point, put it up and let one of us see it, and we'll be sure we take that question or comment, please. And then most important, this is a pretty intimate group. I mean, there are 120, 30 people here, but it's a good size to have a lot of conversation, and that's what Postal Vision is all about. So please be engaged. Don't be bashful about asking a question. If it's not the right time during a comment, give us a card, but we'll recognize you and be sure we get everybody involved. And I will say that relative to the, no, I'll go right ahead. So what's this all about? Postal Vision 2020. This will be, I hope, the last slide that you're about to see that looks back, because this is really all about looking forward. This is about vision, and we want to really look at the end of the day tomorrow, 2030 and beyond, because 2020 is too close. It's now myopic. And yet when we started, those of you who have been in this business may remember back about 10 years ago, no more than almost 10 years ago, I guess, when McKinsey, Accenture, and BCG were all hired by the Postal Service to create a vision and a strategic plan. And the assessment at the time was not very good. There was a projection that by 2020, that magic year, that the Postal Service would lose $238 billion cumulatively on that course. It hasn't been that bad, but it hasn't been a lot better either. And so it's about the same time I decided, and I went around and talked to a number of the people in the associations and the regulators and said, you know, we really need to have an independent conversation about this. We need all players involved, the Postal Service, the mailers, the shippers, the receivers, the unions, to talk about where we're going to go with this. And let's look out. We need to look out 20 years ahead. And so we formed this independent initiative, and we've been pretty true to it. It's all about a provocative conversation about where we're going. And then I happened to read the book, What Would Google Do? By Jeff Jarvis. He wrote it in 2009, and I really was taken by this sort of Silicon Valley perspective of how did Google at the time, Google, who, well, I'll show you where Amazon was then, was really looked at the opportunities, the challenges, how to use digital technology to be able to share information. That's where it began. Great book, still a great read. Jeff joined me then, and as you will recall, if you were here the first session, Jeff helped us kick this off, and we asked the question, what would Google do? It was really exciting, and it was provocative. Jeff put one slide up that said, if it can be digital, it will be digital. And we were still very much, only 9, 10 years ago, in mail then. A lot has changed. Right after we did the conference, which was in June, just about the same time, this article came out. Pretty powerful image there. And a lot of people were concerned that we had trouble in the mail business. And we have had. And yet, things have improved a lot, and in some ways haven't. But But to look back over that period of time, I didn't get a chart put together on this, but if you look at that top line, postal revenues are pretty constant from where they were. There was a dip during the recession, and we're still at around $70 billion a year. That's a pretty big business. As we know, mail volume is down. First-class mail volume is dangerously down because that's where most of the revenue is. And yet parcels are growing, as we can see here. The important thing is I think, one of the important things is, but look what else has happened in those 10 years. This company, Amazon, at that time, was a smaller business in the U.S. Postal Service. They were only doing about $50 billion a year. They're now up to about $200 billion a year. And as you know, Paul Meisner is going to be speaking with us at lunchtime today from Amazon, which is really exciting for us to have them come to Postal Vision, but also I think very exciting for the industry because there's an enormous very powerful partnership between USPS and Amazon and the industry. It's very much a platform and an ecosystem, and that's what we like to dress in the spirit of Postal Vision. So what's this all about today? Daring, sharing, and caring. Yeah, that they happen to rhyme, those words, but we are feeling that we need to be daring. There's no question about it. John Hagel's going to speak to us in a moment, and he's from his organization. It's called The Edge, and that's being out on the edge is pretty daring. And we know that everyone has to go out there and take those risks. Sharing, the other part of it is not only sharing the knowledge, but this is the whole sharing economy issue. Very interesting things going on there where through all the algorithms and management of data, we understand where there's a lot of empty space, and we want to share the space. We want to share the space on the vans, share the space in people's working environment, whether it be crowdsourced, et cetera. It's a powerful theme, and we'll be talking about it. And then caring, and I don't want to go on without saying that because we all know we need to care about the customer and more the consumer, and certainly we're learning that from Amazon, but we need to care about every citizen in this country because there is a universal service obligation, hasn't been well defined, and maybe that means we need to be more responsive to it. We need to care about how we meet the needs of our citizens. So this is a peculiar slide here, I suppose, but one other thing in terms of attractions to Washington I want everybody to know about is this exhibit is just opened. It comes from Burning Man. Does everybody know what Burning Man is? Have you ever heard of that? Some of you do. Certainly the geeky types know, and the artistic types. This is another one of these California out there concepts that is now a happening in the desert. And what I really like, and they create art and then they burn it afterwards in many cases. But it's so special that they've brought it to Washington the first time in this Smithsonian Gallery, the Wenwick Gallery. And that particular display is either in there or out there. I want to get over there and see it because I think it's really cool. This is called shrooms or something. I mean, it's just incredible. But the spirit of this that I think is so exciting is it's about being there, being fully present, and not just observing. One of the two of the 10 principles are radical participation and radial inclusivity, meaning there are no outsiders, and that's what this is all about. In some way, I was taken by that because that's what we really like to do with Postal Vision.